When you think of business success, things like efficiency, competitiveness, and strategy leap to mind. But love?
We're conditioned to believe that love has no place in business, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Steve Farber wrote, "Love is just damn good business," and brings love into workplaces using the acronym LEAP.
It stands for love, energy, audacity, and proof.
We're running down real-world examples of each principle, starting with love.
Love is the connection of your heart to your work.
That wasn't happening at a shipping company called Trailer Bridge.
The place was toxic.
So they looked at their practices with love in mind.
A container had to be at least 75% full, because if it wasn't, they would lose money on the shipment.
If they didn't hit that number, stuff didn't ship. So they asked, if we loved our customers, what would we do?
When you asked the question that way, the answer was pretty obvious. We would ship.
That meant losing some money in the name of love, but in the past 2 years, profits
It exceeded the previous 25 years of the company combined.
Okay, how about an example of energy?
Energy is the enthusiasm that you bring to bear on what you do every day.
Card company American Greetings walked the energy walk when they showed designs for their new corporate headquarters to employees.
They got feedback, primarily from their creative folks, that they wanted natural light throughout the entire building.
Yeah, and I want a pony. Grow up.
To redraw the plans would cost the company an additional $30 million. So what do you think they did?
Fired their entire creative team?
They spent an additional $30 million.
Or that.
Can you imagine how energizing that was for the people that had that input?
Huge. Next, the A in LEAP stands for audacity. Like a little company in Canada called Hallmark Retirement, whose staff took annual volunteer trips.
So they started getting their residents involved by bringing them to Guatemala.
Naysayers said it would be too much for residents in their 80s and 90s, but they defied expectations and loved making an impact on the world. Finally, there's proof. A young Byron Stevens pushed to manage the Ponderosa Steakhouse in Gary, Indiana.
Because it was the worst performing store in the chain.
The employees showed up late with dirty uniforms and never filled out their paperwork. He could have just fired everyone, but instead,
he asked a question. Why?
He learned that public transit was notoriously late, so
he got in his car and he drove them to work.
Employees didn't have washers and dryers in their homes, so
he personally washed their uniforms.
And paperwork was skipped because, for some, reading was a challenge.
So he and the rest of his management team would tutor them.
He walked the walk, and the proof is in the results.
They did go from worst to first. Not in 2 years, but in 1 year.
Which is why Steve says,
love is just damn good business.
Bringing love into the workplace is at the top of the list.